What's the value you believe of Josh Rosen, who just completed his rookie season?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I'm not like the salary cap guru person thingamajiggy. I will say this. I sometimes laugh at, I really like this player. I don't like him with a top 10 pick, but if he's around at 20, I would draft him. And I always question that, like, what's the end goal for him to be really good for the next decade for you? And so what it costs to acquire that player, I think you have to kind of play it backwards. Like, the goal is for this player to be X over the next decade plus for us. We want our franchise quarterback over the next decade. And so if you fast forward 10 years and go, hey, Redskins, Josh Rosen was a Pro Bowl player, a playoff caliber quarterback, championship caliber quarterback type player. In 2030, this question gets answered. Yes, Josh Rosen was. Does it matter if you gave up a first or second for him? No, it doesn't matter, because the end game was the end game. The result was the result that you wanted. And so as an organization, for me, like, if I believe that this guy is what I believe Josh Rosen is going to be a top 10 starting quarterback in the NFL, if I believe that, whether it costs me a first or a second doesn't necessarily matter to me. Obviously, I want him as cheap as I can, but the result for that is more important than how I got there to me. And so if I believe that, I don't necessarily worry about if it costed me a first or a second or third round pick. I have to go get what I feel the end value for the player is.
All right, so let's move off value and let's talk about fit and what you see. Do you think he would fit with Jay Gruden, and what would your expectations be moving forward for Josh Rosen? Obviously, you're high on him.
Yeah, I think he fits. You know, I got into this a little bit with Craig Hoffman last year. I know that you guys had on how there seemed to be a little bit of a struggle with Alex, and I didn't necessarily anticipate this because Jay kept calling the offense like it was Kirk, and that's not necessarily Alex's bread and butter when it comes to like that play action and vertical stretch. It was much more of a horizontal thing, and that wasn't necessarily the comfort level that they both have. You know, Josh is still so young where he hasn't been exposed to a certain offense for a long period of time that he would have to break all these mental habits or mental commitments that he has. I do think that Rosen is very good in the play-action game. The challenge of the play-action game is to do it really well, you've got to have a very sharp mind because you're turning your back to the defense. And so the people that you're seeing are changing pre- and post-snap. And so you got to be able to really do a good job of having a sharp mind and seeing color and how the picture changes. And when you go back last year, most of Rosen's success in Arizona was part of the play-action game. I know Jay likes the play-action game. And so I do think there is that marriage there. And like I said, he's young enough where you can shape this player to being what you want him to be. Here's the reality. Josh Rosen, like any other quarterback, he needs some kind of structure. I mean, this is his sixth offensive, if it happens, in 5 years.
Yeah,
that's incredibly difficult for any player, a kicker, let alone the most important position in the NFL. And so the big thing is getting him to a place, whether it's Arizona and there is no draft pick for Kyler Murray, or get him into a place where you go, all right, take a deep breath and breathe. You're going to be here, and so are these people around you for the next couple of years. Let's allow you to really blossom under the same type of system, same type of coaching, same type of voice.
And Dan, he didn't play a ton of games in college because his only full year was his freshman year. He hurt his shoulder his sophomore year, and had concussion issues his junior year. I think he only played 7 games, so he didn't play as many games as some guys coming out. So I'm not ready to give up on him. He's still learning. The only thing that worries me about him is the leadership qualities. Does he have the leadership quality? I mean, you know his background. His dad was a spinal surgeon. His great-grandfather is Wharton from the Wharton School of Business.
Well, why is that a negative?
Very entitled. I get the feeling maybe entitled. You know, not that that's bad, but I'm just wondering about leadership qualities on the field. Baker Mayfield's a leader.
Baker Mayfield's a dog.
Yeah,
sure.
Right. So does that worry you at all?
Of course, yes. I mean, you can't run from that. That is the most important aspect of a quarterback. We hear that all the time. I say this: the physical is great, all that stuff at talents of a quarterback, but all the other stuff is significantly more important. I will say this, and I kind of went to bat. I don't know Josh Rosen, so for me to sit here and speak to his leadership qualities or his personality, or people do like him or don't like him, is a bunch of baloney. And I think that's the case for a lot of people. I know this. To question his love for the game as a quarterback, go back and watch the UCLA tape. He takes a beating, but he stands in there and continues. You don't do that unless you really love the game. Like, no one's just going to continue to take a beating and get beat up week after week, play after play, unless you truly love what you're doing. So the love for the game is there for me. I don't hold the you come from money thing against him. I've seen guys that were super wealthy and continue to have great careers. I saw guys come from a very privileged background who had Matthew Stafford grew up in Highland Park, Texas, which was one of the nicest places in the country. And he's got an incredible drive and work ethic. I've seen guys come from the, nothing and be lazy as heck as well. So,
right.
I think it's all dependent. But the leadership, I know some players in Arizona. I asked them about Josh Rosen.
Uh-huh.
They did say this. He throws it better than anybody that they had ever seen. And that's not thrown around loosely. They're like, he can absolutely throw it. But he does have significant interests off the field. There are things off the field that have his attention.